Hi, Global Studies. Welcome back to our YouTube channel. This presentation will focus on the process you will follow if you are thinking you want to change your major to Global Studies, including declaring the pre-major, along with if you are thinking of declaring Global Studies or pre-Global Studies as your second major, some information about that process. Now, if you are looking for information about how to change from the pre-major to the full major after you've completed those full pre-major requirements, then you're actually going to look for a different video on our channel and different information on our website. This is just the process you'll follow if you are changing your major completely from something else, or if you're adding Global Studies as your second major. So we're going to show you a set of steps and processes that you'll follow through the following slides. This will help you initiate the actual change of major or add the double major in pre-Global Studies in this case. It will also guide you through the process of kind of checking on your records to see what's your status with the major if you were to change your major or add the major as a second major, kind of what classes you would have already completed and what classes you will need to think about taking next and further down the line during your time at UCSB. And then if after looking at these steps in this presentation, you would like to discuss more specifics related to changing your major or adding the double major, if you have any issues clarifying the requirements, for example, or you want to discuss foreign language options, if you need just a second set of eyes helping you fill out the paperwork, definitely reach out to us in the undergraduate advising office. Our most current contact information is on our website, global.ucsb.edu. You're going to go to the undergrad section, and if you want to go there directly, you're going to get to the undergraduate advising section, but you'll be able to find it if you navigate to the page that is linked here. Now you're going to see a number of links in this presentation, just like with all of the videos on our YouTube channel. There is a clickable version of the slides that you can download and access in the description box of the YouTube video. So you can always open that and sort of follow along, or just click through the slides if you prefer to take the information in that way. So the sort of the overview of all the steps that you'll follow would be the following. You're going to be doing the following. You'll download and read through the major requirements and a suggested plan of study. From there, you will then open your major and GE progress check on gold to sort of self-check what courses you've already completed for the major requirements, including prep for the major, pre-major, and any upper division courses if applicable to you. And this will kind of help you make some decisions about what you think you need to sign up for next in order to continue with the major. And then you'll read through some important things to know about progressing through the major, graduating on time, just some notes on the timing. You'll hear about some special tips that major requirement sheet might not have clearly stated on its own. Sometimes you will not know all of this information until you get started in the major, so it's nice to know it when you're changing your major. And then you'll get an overview of the paperwork that you'll fill out. If it's a simple major change, if you're just changing from one major to pre-global studies, declaring the pre-major, there's going to be, it's a form that is linked right here. You'll see it with the underline, but it's also, you can find it on the undergraduate advising page on our website. And this will guide you through some very similar questions to what we're going to show you in this presentation about the major, that will let you reflect on kind of your status and how many classes you have taken that might fulfill the pre-major or early major requirements, how many you still have left. And then you filling out this form is actually the thing that signals to us that you would like us to start the electronic change of major process with you. From there, we will then send you by email to your UCSB email account a petition. Essentially, it's the change of major form, and it'll come to you from a service called DocuSign. So more on that a little bit later on in the presentation. However, if you are thinking of taking on pre-global studies as a double major, as your second major, you're actually not going to use the form that's linked above in the exact same process up here. You're actually going to send an email to this email address with a completed change of major petition. You can do it by a scanned PDF that you fill out, or you can print it, fill it out. If campus is open and functioning, you could bring it to the office or send it to us over email, whatever works. And the memo of understanding for the double major will give you a full tutorial towards the end of this presentation, but we do recommend that you watch the main presentation as well, because it will show you the basics of change your major. And then for applying to the full major from the pre-major, so if you're already in the pre-global studies major and you're ready to apply to the full major, this is not the process. Neither of these would be the process that you're following. You're going to be instead looking at this info sheet that's linked within the presentation. It's also on the undergraduate advising section of our website. You're going to look for something that says pre-global studies info sheet, and it will let you know kind of what your steps are. We also have a separate video on our channel that walks you through that. And then if after following these steps, you still feel like you've got some questions, some specifics you want to dig into, some things that are personal to you that you're not sure about, especially related to adding the double major, definitely, and the foreign language requirement, also definitely good things to book an appointment with us. So you can contact the undergraduate advising office for further details, visit our website to see our most updated contact information. Okay, so a quick glance at the major sheet. The first thing you are going to want to do if you're thinking about joining the major would be to download a copy of the major requirement sheet and the suggested plan of study. Both of these documents, it's essentially available as one double-page PDF or double-sided if you're picking it up in person in the office. You're going to look for the current year major requirements and suggested plan of study that will be on page 2 of this document. Now, a really quick tour of our website. So we're on global.ucsb.edu in the undergraduate section, and we're underneath registration resources. So as we kind of scroll our way down, there's going to be a section that will talk about how to plan my schedule. That's definitely good to look at once you're actually getting ready to plan your schedule for a particular quarter. And then it'll say, which major requirements do I follow? Where can I find a suggested plan of study? You will see linked whatever is the current copy of the major requirements. You can click that and download that PDF. You can also look on what's called the UCSB General Catalog website. That will always have the most updated version of the major requirements. It will not have the suggested plan of study though. That's something that we only offer through our office. So that's what this form looks like. It's not really a form, more of a chart that you can use to kind of judge where you're at and kind of your progress through the major if you were to join the major at any particular point in your UCSB career. The second thing you're going to want to do once you have downloaded these items is you're going to want to download and maybe fill out or maybe just think through for your own reference the Global Studies course planning sheet that is also going to be on the same website that I just showed you, our registration resources and our undergraduate advising sections of our website. It will be in both locations. You don't need to submit this to anybody, but this is just to use as your own reference guide as you start planning your future decisions in the global studies major. So it's a 2-page front and back piece of sheet of paper that will guide you through the major requirements and give you some space to plan out what classes you think you want to fulfill, to fulfill all of those requirements to complete the major. So the pre-global studies major, you've been hearing us say global studies major and pre-global studies major. The truth is that all students do start in the pre-global studies major. These are sort of the early pre-major requirements that demonstrate that you're ready to take on the challenges of the upper division, the full major. So all students will complete pre-major requirements and then apply to the full major. Pre-major requirements are found at the top of the major sheet. So if we go backwards in our presentation, you're going to notice pre-major, and that has 2 sections you have to fulfill. You're also going to notice preparation for the major. You do not need to finish the preparation for the major before you move on to the full major. The upper division major, you just need to complete the pre-major requirements. You're going to notice some specific GPA information and some specific other GPA information for each of these 2 different requirements. Now, if you do want some more information on the pre-major requirements, you're going to want to take a look at our video about the pre-global studies major, and additionally, it'll also talk you through your planning for eventually applying to the full major. So we definitely recommend that you take a look at that video too. This one will more just walk you through how to change your major, how to declare the pre-major to begin with. And then students apply, just generally thinking about the timing. Students apply to the full major after having completed the pre-major during the quarter in which they're finishing pre-major courses. There is a little bit of a time lag between completing those courses and then the next quarter where you'll be able to actually get into upper division global studies major courses. All of that will be covered in the separate pre-global studies major video information and on our website. So we won't go through that in this video, but it is there for you to access, and you can reach out to us if you do have further questions about it. There is a short info sheet, just a single page, 2 sides of information for information about the pre-major. It is linked here in our slides. More details are on the undergraduate section of our website, but just to kind of give you a glance, this is what you would be looking for. The Google Docs is apparently loading very slowly. There we go. So it'll kind of walk you through the specific requirements. It'll show you how to check on some GPA scenarios for your pre-major courses, and then it'll give you actually some information about the timing of when you want to move from the pre to the full major. But again, this is for further down the line once you're already in the pre-global studies major. This video is just going to show you how to sign up for the pre-global studies major to begin with. So the second thing you're going to want to do is you will want to open your major in GE progress check on Gold and self-check your courses taken towards the major so that you can get a sense of where you are and where you have to go next. So to open your major in GE progress check on Gold, if you don't know already how to do this, you're going to click on Gold Progress and then the major in GE progress checks tab, and you'll self-check what courses you've already completed towards your major requirements, the prep for the major, the pre-major. Now the upper division major, if you're not already in the major, will not show up for you. If you're looking at the pre-global studies major, do not be worried if you can't see these. You will be able to see them once you're into the full major, however. And just to let you know, you don't need to report this information anywhere unless you're filling out the memo of understanding for a double major. You'll see why later on if that applies to you, but it will help you be informed and begin to make choices about the next time you're registering for classes, which classes you want to put into the following quarter schedule, and kind of your planning long range for joining this major. So how do you find and read your major in GE progress check on Gold? Like we said, you're going to sign into Gold, click progress, major in GE progress checks. You are going to run the check for, it's going to say available major checks. It will likely not say just global studies for you. It will say pre-global studies because that's where students begin. Go ahead and select from the drop-down menu pre-global studies. You're going to want to check this little box here because this is the box that, if when checked, turns on the option to show you your in-progress courses. So this would be all the courses that you're currently enrolled in, including for future quarters, even if you don't have a final grade on them yet. Maybe you're in the course right now, maybe it's planned for a future quarter, but it's going to show you how those choices fit into whichever requirements you're asking the system to show you, in this case, pre-global studies requirements. So you do want to kind of get the full picture with that. Then you will click the button that says run this progress check. Key areas to check. You are going to check on units completed and left to complete. This is always just a good thing to be on the lookout, but specifically for the major, you are going to want to be looking at, besides your GE completion, your major requirements areas, which again, for students new to the major, you would be able to see the pre-global studies major section and the prep for the global studies major sections. So definitely open those areas up. If you are kind of starting to try to think about the upper division major as well, after you've looked at the paper or PDF copy of the major requirement sheet, you can also go down to the all credit accepted section of your progress check to see if there are classes that technically do count towards the upper division major that will then show up on your progress check once you join the upper division major, if you're approved to do so. And then just to kind of give you a sense of what it looks like, you'll see this kind of typewriter font with sections that have in progress clocks, meaning it's on the way to being done, or it'll have a green check mark if you're complete in that area, or a red X. The red X is a signal that there's something in that section that you need to work on, something that's incomplete. So the directions using kind of a visual are on the right side of the screen. On the left side of the screen is all the same stuff we just talked about, but it's in words instead of visuals if you're more of that kind of person. So I will pull all of that in and then pause for a moment. So our bolded note at the bottom left, just as a reminder that if you have any questions about these pre-major requirements or upper division major requirements eventually, including and especially the foreign language requirement underneath preparation for the major, it's one of our most complicated parts of our major requirements. We do recommend that you book an appointment with an undergraduate advisor before you apply to the major. Our contact information is on our undergrad advising page of our website, or you can email us with questions. Our email address is also available on the undergraduate advising page of our website with all of our most updated information on appointments and drop-in options for advising. And then you can also check out our foreign language frequently asked questions FAQ video on our YouTube channel, along with a number of other topics related to our major requirements and joining the major and being in the major and things like that. You can search for UCSB Global Studies to find our YouTube channel, or we have links directly to the playlist of advising videos and tutorials if you wanted to go directly from the link in the slides for more specifics. So can global studies take some classes I've already taken for maybe for another major or for electives by petition, therefore making it so that I'm even closer to finishing and graduating? In a lot of cases, yes, our major does offer some flexibility in terms of what classes can count towards the major. You're going to want to visit our undergraduate advising page and section on petitions for information on criteria if you would like to take courses not on the major sheet by petition, so that you can kind of know before you sign up if that class will work well for a major. And then you can also find out what the process is for filing that petition. Just be aware that they won't appear on your progress check, these courses for global studies, until the petition is filed and approved, and we can't We can't formally pre-approve classes by petition, but we can tell you which classes are good fits and that we would be willing to accept, even though you won't officially see the acceptance until after you file the petition. Now, some common areas in our major in which you would take courses by petition, in case this speaks to any courses you've already taken for another major or minor or upper division elective. Upper division area 3, region courses. This is, there's a lot of new exciting courses that fit in the area that aren't on the major sheet yet. Maybe they don't come up frequently enough for us to put them onto the major sheet. It wouldn't make sense for us to offer them as a choice if they're never offered to be taken. So a course can be approved as long as it focuses on 20th and 21st century and some social or cultural or political or historical topic in that region for area 3. This also applies to UC-EAP study abroad courses as well. And then another common area in which we take courses by petition would be for division area 2B, global topics courses, same focus on 20th and 21st century, and at least 3 or more regions of the world referenced in the same course around some kind of social, cultural, political, historical topic, but it has to be at least 3 or more regions of the world versus area 3, which is specific to a certain region. So that's just a few things to help you if you are thinking of looking at your progress check that you might have taken some classes that could potentially count for the major, even if they're not officially on the major sheet. So a couple of important things to know about progressing through the major and graduating on time, especially if you're starting in the pre-major, like most students will be doing so from the time that we're making this video forward. So our major is generally quite popular and it's pretty impacted, which means in a lot of cases there are more students who are interested in our major than we always have room to comfortably accommodate everybody in all of our classes. This doesn't mean that you shouldn't join the major. It just means that you have to be realistic that you may not get to take exactly the classes you're hoping to take in exactly the specific quarter in which you want to take it. Yes, we are a major where sometimes students are able to graduate early, but just know that that's never a guarantee. We can't make any guarantees like that. If you are planning yourself in the hopes that you can graduate early, it is possible, but we can't magically make more room in our classes. If you want to graduate early, you kind of have to just go with what's available at the time that you are enrolling. You will be able to take all of your required courses at some point, just not necessarily exactly when you want to take them. So as we said, for the above reason, we can for sure guarantee an on-time graduation within 4 years if you are progressing through the major at a full-time recommended student pace, and if you're using your registration pastimes wisely, if you're enrolling in your required courses as soon as you get the opportunity to. We just can't guarantee that you will graduate early. We also can't guarantee an on-time graduation if you are joining the major after spring of your junior year, right? You'll be needing to start in the pre-major requirements, which will mean that you will have some extra quarters that you need to plan for yourself, potentially as much as another year. It really just depends on your individual situation. That is something where we recommend that you make an appointment with us if you're joining the major later on into your junior year, so that we can help you identify where you are on track and where you might want to make some courses up during perhaps some summer sessions, for example. However, students who do start the major early are often able to either work out a plan to graduate early or can, in a lot of cases, very easily accommodate a second major or a study abroad program, or sometimes multiple of those options. So just kind of know your progress through the major and your timing in the major depends a lot on when you start and whether or not you're doing a full-time load of classes on your way through the major. And then some special tips that our major requirement sheet doesn't really convey. So if you're kind of looking at the major requirement sheet and you might have some questions or some confusions, here are also just some helpful things to know in terms of like the ordering of classes and what classes to take in what order. For the pre-major, a frequently asked question is, do I have to do Global 1 before I do Global 2? Nope, they do not build on each other. You just need to take both of them before you can move on from the pre-major. You can complete them in any order. In some quarters, you can even complete them at the same time. It just depends on what is available on the schedule. And then the 3 history courses you select from will likely not all be able to be completed in the same quarter, so do plan for multiple quarters for that pre-major requirements. Prep for the major. The prep for the major section, the big thing with the foreign language requirement, some people don't realize when they're looking at the major sheet, the full foreign language requirement is, if you're starting fresh from the first steps, 3 years. That would be 3 years all of one language up through beginning, intermediate, and advanced level, or 2 years of one language done through the intermediate level, plus 1 additional year of a different language done through the beginning level. But for most people, that it does amount to 9 quarters of language study, or approximately 3 years. Now there's some special shortcuts, some special situations, some special options in a lot of cases for students who have certain language backgrounds. Maybe they're fluent in another language, they grew up speaking another language, they have prior study experience with a certain language. There may be some options for you to shorten that amount of time or to waive parts of the requirements, but you will want to take a look at the video about our foreign language requirement we have posted on our YouTube channel, or take a look at our website. There's going to be a section related to the foreign language requirement, and or we do recommend that you make an appointment to talk with us or some time to reach out to us, whether it's by email or an appointment or a drop-in to clarify your individual language situation. Then when we take a look at the upper division major, some things that are good to know that don't really show up on the major sheet. In the upper division major, area 1 courses, which are our core courses, typically that's Global 110, 120, 130, along with any other additional courses listed underneath area 1 on the year in which you're starting the major. Note that these tend to be more difficult courses, more intense, and ideally students should not put more than one of those courses in a single quarter. At most, we would say 2 in the same quarter. If you feel like you need to go a little faster, it is best if you can spread them out over multiple quarters and fill the rest of your schedule with other courses that are not the other core courses, just because they can be a lot more intensive. And then also know in the upper division major, you need to take 6 additional courses in between areas 2 and 3, but you can split those courses 2 different ways or 2 different paths to complete the major. We're going to show you some details and a visual on the next slide. So that would be everything besides the area 1 courses. So 2 different options you're going to see, and this comes from a sheet that we referenced earlier. This is the course planning sheet. So you actually get to fill in some bubbles with some possibilities as you work your way through the major. So option 1 for area 2 and area 3, you're going to notice 4 classes for area 2, 2 classes for area 3, all from the same geographic region list. The difference between that and option 2 is that in option 2, area 2 and area 3 courses are split equally, 3 classes for each of those areas, whereas up here it was 4 for area 2, 2 for area 3. Now you're also going to notice that 2 of the courses for area 2 have to come from the Global Studies upper division elective options. That would be Global 1 something something. So that's why we leave these little blanks here. You don't have to take them in like the order that they're listed in these little bubbles. Not necessary to follow that kind of a thing. You just need to make sure that you can check these off each time that you take a look at your progress so that you are making sure you're getting enough classes for the major. And then we also just be aware that we've got some little asterisks next to certain parts on this course planning sheet. These just denote areas and courses that would be potentially acceptable to substitute through study abroad courses, UCEAP courses, and other courses on the campus that meet the criteria for special petitions. More information on that on our undergraduate advising page in the petition section. So this gives you kind of a sense of the different options you have for completing the upper division section of the major. We do have some extra notes really quickly on the foreign language requirement for native and heritage speakers of a language, including international students. So if this applies to you, you're going to want to listen to this carefully. If it doesn't apply to you, you can click ahead in the slide or skip very slightly ahead in the video. So some special shortcuts for the foreign language requirement might apply to students if any of the following situations is true for them. If the student is a native speaker of another language, including international students and multilingual US students, we'll have to take a look at some specific things in your records, or you may need to discuss with the department that teaches that language to get some kind of proof of your fluency in that language. It'll look a little different for every language and every department. So just be prepared to go searching for some information from those departments. If you studied at least 3 or more years of a language in high school, sometimes we can credit you for that. If you have prior college transfer courses in a language, those will transfer. You will likely already see those appearing in your progress check when you run the initial major and GE progress check for pre-global studies. If you don't and you know that you took some foreign language courses, definitely talk to us about it so we can see what's going on. Or if you have just prior knowledge of a foreign language for some other reason, you might be eligible for a placement exam through the department that teaches that language. Now, we're not doing a whole lot of in-depth information on the foreign language requirement in this presentation, but if you think any of these situations might apply to you, we do have the undergraduate advising section of our website and our YouTube channel have some resources related to the foreign language requirement that go into more detail and more depth on how to actually potentially clear some or all of your foreign language requirement using one or more of these situations. Definitely reach out to us if you're not sure. Now, this next slide, which clicked me through to something else, so we're gonna have to pull this back up. Just know that this next slide is going to show a number of specific language departments that teach certain languages on campus. So if you are a native speaker or have prior understanding, prior knowledge, prior study in one of the languages listed, these would be the departments that you're going to go looking for information about their placement exam process, or whether or not they do fluency exams for students who are fluent in that language. I don't know why it keeps wanting to click me into the link. So we have Chinese, Japanese, Korean under the East Asian Cultural Studies program. We have Spanish, especially Spanish for native heritage speakers. It's a really popular option for our students who are fluent in Spanish, even if it's not necessarily the language they live mostly in now that they're, continuing to be students in the United States. Maybe they were born in the United States, but they're just bilingual. French and Italian are in a single department. German is in its own department, along with Russian, which is not listed on this. Oh, it is. Russian and other Slavic languages. Farsi, Hindi, Punjabi, Arabic, a few other languages, Hebrew, Turkish. You're going to find the religious studies department. And then if you're fluent in a language that is not taught at UCSB, you're going to talk to one of the undergraduate advisors to see if there is the option to get cleared for fluency elsewhere. Once you take the placement test for your chosen language, if this is a route you're going to go, just know that it can take some time for your score to become available to be petitioned into your major requirements. Do not be alarmed if it seems like the process takes a long time. So definitely make sure you are planning ahead if you think you want to use this option for part or all of your foreign language requirement. All right, back to the main process. So just some other opportunities to know about to customize your experience in the major. Each quarter, we look for classes that can be applied to the major requirements by petition. There's a lot of new and interesting classes, like we said earlier, that we are able to take by petition that work for our major requirements. They're just so new that we can't add them to our major sheet every single year. That information can be found on the registration resources section of our website. We have a Google Doc linked there that has additional courses that we can take by petition. We update it shortly after every new quarter's class schedule comes out. So you can take a look there. Also, do keep in mind that Global Studies gives you 36 upper division units towards your 60 units minimum required to be eligible to graduate. That's 180 to 184, depending on some other things in your student records overall. You will have to complete at least 24 upper division elective units outside of the regular Global Studies basic major requirements. And just the good thing to know is that these courses can be anything, right? They could be more classes on the Global Studies major sheet, upper division section that you're really interested in, even if you're not planning to use them for the major, or they can come from a minor or a second major, or they can just be random elective choices that you've made that are upper division courses. If you are interested in studying abroad, we also say that there are some specific areas like we called out a little earlier, Area 3 upper division and Area 2B upper division course areas where we see students using a lot of classes that they've taken abroad on study abroad programs by petition. So we're pretty flexible with that. Oftentimes also a portion of your foreign language requirement can be done while abroad. It will depend a lot on your individual situation and where you're at in your study of that language by the time you're ready to go abroad, but we can talk you through that once you are thinking of submitting your application to study abroad. This is a really good option to discuss an appointment with us, though. If you are interested in studying abroad, the UCEAP website is your best place to go. Deadlines for summer, fall, and full year programs typically start the prior January through March, give or take, but specific deadlines will be listed on the UCSB EAP website. Deadlines for spring programs are typically around the prior March to May, so just be kind of looking for that time frame if you are thinking of studying abroad. Okay, time to recap. You've thought through your major requirement sheet. You've looked at your major and GE progress check. You've looked at the major requirements and kind of thought about some opportunities that you might choose as part of your major, your progress in the major. Here's the paperwork you're going to fill out when you're ready to commit. For simple major changes or declaring the pre-major, there's a linked form, which our slides also tell us you can find in the undergraduate advising section of our website. You're going to be looking for the Global Studies Major Change Request form. It's going to give you some things that you will kind of call out some of the things we've seen in this presentation. And then it's going to ask you to open a few things, which if you've been watching these slides, you probably have already done or are doing right now. And then it's going to ask you for some different things. It will guide you through some information and some questions to help you decide, help you pick the right information related to your major change. And then we will follow up with an email that you'll get to your UCSB account from a service called DocuSign. Once you see that email in DocuSign, click through it and it should take you the rest of the way through the directions. Once that gets filled out, we sign that. It comes back to us in the department. We put our electronic signature on it, and then it continues on to the office of the registrar. They are the ones that actually make the major change official. You will then see your major change on gold, but do keep in mind it can take 2 to 6 weeks for your major change to become official. So don't worry if it seems like it's taking a long time. For double majors, you're not going to use this linked form above. That's only for single major changes, declaring the pre-major. Instead, you're going to send an email to right here, global-advising@ucsb.edu, with the completed change of major petition. So it looks like this, whether or not you're doing it on DocuSign or just on a separate PDF. And then you're also going to submit a memo of understanding that looks like this. Now we are going to go through this in the next few slides. So my people who are just looking to do a single, regular, simple major change, you are almost to the end of what you need to know in this presentation. Double major people, hang on, we're going to do a little bit more. And then for applying to the full major from the pre-major, let's say you're already in the pre-major, you're already done with pre-major requirements and you're ready to apply to the full upper division major, you're also not going to be using this form. This is only for if you're adding the pre-major to begin with. You're actually going to use this info sheet. And this is the info sheet we showed earlier. This is actually going to have a different form linked within it and linked on our website underneath the undergrad advising section related to the pre-major. You'll actually fill in a form that is different. So it's going to look like this. Lots of paragraphs up top versus this one, which is just if you're changing your major to begin with. But anyways, we'll go more into that process in a different video. And then just remember, all directions for completing the change of major petition and extra double major paperwork are on the next slides. So if you are ready to be here to think about a double major change or adding global studies as your second major, please keep watching for the next bit. Everybody else, that pretty much concludes the directions for a simple major change, just to declare pre-global studies to begin with. But also please reminder that you can absolutely feel free to make an appointment with the Global Studies undergraduate advisor or advisors if you have further questions about anything that we've shared in the first part of this presentation. Our contact and appointment info is back on the first slide, or you can visit our website, global.ucsb.edu, go to the undergraduate advising section, and you'll have our information there. Okay, double major people. Additional steps for adding global studies as a second major. You can skip to the last slide if this does not apply to you. By people who are still doing a simple major change, you might have actually stopped the video already, but it will have some extra information that might be useful to you if you do end up deciding that you want to do a double major in the future. So my double major people, you actually need to complete and submit an additional piece of paperwork along with your change of major petition. We sadly don't currently have a DocuSign process for this. We may in the future. So if you're seeing this video, you may think about checking our department website to see if there's now, at the point that you're thinking of double majoring in global studies, there may be a setup that will allow you to also submit an electronic change of major via DocuSign, but that process doesn't exist yet. So this is how you will do it. So you still are going to follow the basic steps that we saw with the basic major change. We're going to be looking up your information, looking at your progress check, things along those lines, download a copy of the major requirements. Then the next thing you're going to be doing is filling out this memo of understanding for double majors. Now the front side, actually, it's best if you can skim through this now, but it's best if you actually do the second side first, because the second side is going to guide you through some math problems. You're going to write both majors, your current major and your prospective second major, which probably is global studies, or if you're adding two majors that are new to you at the same time, you're going to be adding pre-global studies as one of those majors. And then it's going to ask you to figure out the units needed to fulfill remaining requirements in the preparation and pre-major and upper division major sections. Now you can find this same information by going back to the major requirement sheet. And I'm trying to pull this up in my Zoom, but my little bar is kind of hiding, so I'll pull this down just a little bit. So let's say we're on our undergraduate course registration page. We're going to pull up our major requirements just really quickly as a sample. You're going to notice that there are some units yet to complete down the side here, these numbers can kind of help guide you through, if you have completed or not completed certain requirements in each of those areas. It can kind of help you figure out how many units left to complete you have to help you with your memo of understanding. Just know the foreign language requirement, there are variable numbers involved here because a lot of it depends on your individual completion level of the foreign language requirement when you begin with the pre-major. So if you're not sure on that, take your best guess and then feel free to check with us. That can be a quick drop-in question, or it can be an email, or it can be an appointment if you feel like you have a few other things you want to talk about too. Back over on the memo of understanding, you'll then do kind of a similar process where you're going to look at you're satisfied with a little check mark and then units needed for each of your general education requirements, your GE requirements. If you are coming to global studies as a second major with another BA, then you're fine looking at the requirements that you have. If you are switching or if you're adding global studies as a second bachelor's degree and you are doing your second major is a Bachelor of Science degree instead of a Bachelor of Arts degree, just know you may want to make a time to meet with the College of Letters and Science advisors because the GE requirements might look a little bit different, so they can help clarify which are the correct ones for you. You'll add up all the total number of units, kind of just doing a big giant math problem, and then you're going to notice down here it's going to ask you to kind of continue with that math problem and put some numbers on these lines according to what you see here. And then it's going to ask you to indicate when you expect to complete all degree requirements, a quarter and a year. So you're going to name, for most people, it's spring of whatever their fourth year would be. If this changes in the future and you realize you need more or less time to finish up, that's fine. This is just kind of your general plan. If you're a freshman or sophomore, potentially even early junior year, shouldn't usually be any reason why you can't finish still within a 4-year general time frame. But if you are adding the second major well into your junior year, just know you may need to be thinking about some extra quarters. It will depend totally on your individual situation and how much you've completed from the major requirements or the pre-major requirements in the case of global studies already. So once you have your quarter and year here and the total number of units it would take you to complete both majors and your remaining GEs, if you have any, you're going to go back to the front side of this form and you're going to basically just fill it out and petition for a double major in, name your 2 majors, pre-global studies being one of them. And then you're going to kind of create a little contract for yourself. This is where just the university wants you to be aware of some specific requirements and rules that govern double majors. The biggest one that seems most applicable for everyone to know about right now is that no more than 8 upper division units may be applied simultaneously between upper division requirements for both majors. So basically you can overlap 2 upper division courses between your 2 majors. You'll continue with the quarter and year you plan to graduate. You'll continue with the number that you figured out on the backside of your total units that you need to complete all your major requirements for both majors and your GEs that you have left at the time you're signing up for the double major, and then you sign and you date. This form is not optional. You do have to do it if you're going to do a double major. You will then submit it with your change of major. Change of major looks like this. If you're doing it on DocuSign as a regular major change, a lot of this will be filled out for you already. If you're not, just know basic personal info up here. Proposed change of major, you would be changing from whatever is your current major or majors to what would be your new major and / existing major if you have a second major. So if you're coming to us already in, let's say, a sociology major, so you would say, my current major is sociology, for example. I'm changing to sociology and pre-global studies. You would check the little pre-blocks and fill in the catalog years, whatever is the current academic year. So 2021 to 2022, for example. Signatures, if you're just adding global as the new major, then you just need our department signature. You can send that to us by email, this form, so we can sign it that way, or you can bring it out as a hard copy if campus is open and get our signature that way. If you are adding both majors and they're both new to you at the time, like you weren't already in one of those majors, you do need both. You need signatures from both departments. But if you're just adding one new major and the other major you're already in, it's not new to you, then you just need the one new major, which for most of you watching would be pre-global studies. So back over here, once you have that paperwork taken care of, you would then send us an email to our global-advising email address, which you'll see back on our first slide. And then, like we said earlier, The College of Letters and Science advisors are great resources if you just have some trouble filling out that memo of understanding page, especially related to the GE requirements. Now, we like to say when you're filling out that memo of understanding, you can count current in progress courses towards your units completed. It's helpful to note areas for which you've done that on the sheet just to help make your numbers more clear. And then we talked about the crossover cap. We total up all of your remaining units. And then that's a little bit more information about the total units and the 200 unit cap. So with UCSB, we generally encourage you to be moving on and graduating from UCSB either before you've reached 200 units or at the end of your 4th year, whichever comes later. So if you are still finishing up a second major, you're right around 200 units and you're going into just your 5th year or your 4th year, you're still fine. If you're going to be going well into 200 units and you're well into a 5th or even a 6th year, that's where the College of Letters and Science will probably want to have a talk with you about what your plans are to finish up. But nothing you need to be worried about right now. After you submit that change of major petition, we will sign, review, submit that petition to the College of Letters and Science for double majors. And for anybody who's a later major change, somebody who's changing their major as a senior or higher. And then just know, change of major takes several weeks to process. We've got at least 1 or 2, if not 2 or 3 different offices that it needs to change hands through. So if you're changing your major and you're just about to register for next quarter's classes, you will want to plan to take other classes that don't rely on getting into Global Studies department courses, so that way you can be sure that you have a schedule that's still working on your degree requirements. Even if you can't get into Global Studies classes, we block our classes on Pass 1 for majors first. You can always try to get in on Pass 2 though, or Pass 3. What other classes can you take besides Global Studies department courses if you're in the process of changing your major? You could look at GEs, you could look at upper division electives if that's applicable to you. GEs are the great choice if you are applying for the pre-Global Studies major and maybe you have or have not already taken Global 1 and 2, or you can't, or it won't fit in your schedule, your 3 history courses. You can work on the prep for the major requirements. We also have more suggestions in the planning your schedule video on our YouTube channel. You may want to take a look at that. You can also get on waitlists on Gold for your desired Global Studies courses. Just know that they are prioritized by major and unit status. So for example, a senior in the major will always have higher priority on the list than a sophomore not yet in the major. So just know that if you are getting onto the waitlist, that's kind of how you might be affected in terms of your placement on that waitlist. And pretty much we're all done. So from this point, thank you for following the directions carefully to ensure correct processing of your major change petition. And please do reach out if any of this seemed unclear or you had questions that are specific to your situation, especially with foreign language. We definitely want to help make sure that you're on the right track with everything related to our pre-major if you are just getting started with us. Please reach out and contact us if that's the case. Undergraduate advising section of our website, as again, does have all of our updated current contact information. We have options for email advising, booking an appointment, whether in person or potentially over Zoom. If we are back to in-person instruction, there may still be an option to hold a virtual session, or they may be running all in person at the point that you're booking your appointment or attending drop-in advising sessions. Please do not hesitate to reach out. You are also welcome, if you're interested, to open a copy of the slides. The link is in the description of the YouTube video so that you can save them to your own UCSB Google Drive account. That way you can always reference back to these notes later on for your planning purposes. So you click File, then make a copy. We won't give you access to the file like as a share. You actually have to download your own extra copy. Okay, thank you so much for watching. Please again reach out if any of this seems unclear or you're not sure. If you are progressing into the major change process correctly.